11. The Creep and His Pet. Chapter 11. The Creep and His Pet. Note. Whoa, that was close. But it's my win this time. The goal was 1070, and y'all hit 1036. That's 501 stones. Let's do the next one. The goal is 1666 stones. So 630 votes in 24 hours. We are in the top 10 now, so there will be a lot of new readers soon. Not impossible, give your stones. Still, to think Shiranui Frill was that. You think being one of that gives her advantages in acting. Ruby, Tsubasa, and I were walking the streets towards the train station, and my little sister was still stuck on the situation from lunch break. Shiranui Frill being a yokai was apparently very surprising to her, and now she was doubtful if her acting was all talent or not. It could actually be magical, honestly. Still, I took the chance to jab at her ribs with a finger. I can't be sure. I'm unaware of what sort of abilities she has. But wow, did you refer to her as that? Are you being racist? Ouch, I am not being racist. You're accusing me. Hey, just what are you two talking about? Include me in. Tsubasa had enough of our weird rant as she demanded aloud. I stopped walking, and that made the two girls pause too. Tsubasa looked a little nervous suddenly when I turned to her, worried that I got mad. However, I only paused now because I was at my destination. Today, my destination and theirs were different. It was a crossroad and I pointed at the part at the far end of one of the roads. I'll be heading there, Ruby. I have some work there. Take Tsubasa back home, and tell mom that I am helping a deaf girl reach her home, that'll make her not complain. Huh. Why should I lie? Take me with you and then I will. Shut up and head home, it can be dangerous where I am going. Weakling. Ruby clicked her tongue and was about to argue again, but when she met my serious gaze, she grumbled and pulled the confused Tsubasa away. I watched them leave, their backs vanishing on the horizon, and only then did I start walking my path. It was a road of raw soil, with thick trees on either side. I kept my copper sight and jade perception activated on high alert. I had to be careful since I wasn't sure what the cause of the incident really was. It could just be a magic rock or a living being. It could be a friendly but naughty yokai that isn't supposed to harm anybody and was just having fun scaring them, or it can be a dangerous phantom too. Yokais existed in this world. I knew that from my knowledge of DxD anime, and also from meeting Shiranui Frill. However, the concept of yokai was a bit different than the one that the public knows of. If you search Wikipedia, it will tell you that yokais are Japanese spirits or East Asian ghosts, like the Hanako-san legend or even the story of the slit-mouthed girl, both of which hail from Japanese legend. However, in this reality, those dead spirits aren't considered yokai. Yokai in this world were a race of their own, they're alive, and they were a spirit from birth. In opposition to the slit-mouthed girl, for example, who's a dead woman turned spirit. Due to their differences, I've decided to call people like her phantoms. Not all phantoms were evil, but most of the time they were like that. Ghosts here couldn't be considered yokai, they were phantoms. However, phantoms were more than that. They can be monsters, beasts, though one thing that's a must was that, they're always dead. If they aren't dead, then they must be the manifestation of dark emotions from people. They bear a deathly aura around themselves. I wonder what this lightning phenomenon was caused by. Was it a phantom, a yokai, a stray devil maybe? It could also just be an artifact, or maybe a magical beast. I don't have any preferences, but I hope whatever it is, it's strong enough to act as nutrients for my growth. It'd be lame if I finally found a proper lightning source, for it to be insufficient. The evening sun was setting, and the lights of modernity filled every corner of the city. Every corner other than Kuo Park, where the public lights were flickering in and out of existence. There was a disturbing feeling in the air, and it worked to make everyone walk fast to leave the park behind them. By the time the sun set, there was nobody left in the park. No human wanted to be there because their life essence felt disturbed and demanded they leave for safety. Unless they were really depressed, where their life essence would be overwhelmed by an aura of depression, they wouldn't notice anything wrong. In fact, they might find this unsettling silence calming, until their soon-to-come demise from the beast that caused this. Unfortunately, there was one such human in the park today. Her short pinkish red hair was flailed downwards, she sat on a bench and stared down at her thighs. Tonight feels nice, the air is cool. Arima Kana muttered softly, sighing and raising her head to look at the sky. Only the stars and moon illuminated the area today. Kana had no idea it would be this peaceful away from the electric lights. Maybe I should go mountain hiking, or maybe camping. Alone. It would be kinda dangerous though. To Kana right now, that didn't seem like an issue. She just hated to be in the spotlight these days. The era of the internet was too harsh to people like her. It's hard to endure even though she was used to it. Actually, should I quit? She hesitated to make a decision. Soon, despite the thick negative essence in the air, her answer was a firm no. No, I don't want to quit yet. A bit more. Kana decided to stand up. Suddenly, as she reaffirmed her decision to stay, this place felt weird. It felt wrong. What was it? She couldn't point out, but it felt odd. I should leave. It's been a few hours since school ended, not that there is anybody back at home to worry if I'm late. Kana said and quickly shook her head, slapping her cheeks. I sound so depressed. I am being dramatic. This isn't the first time one of my shows failed. I should get going. Kana decided and began to walk away. She took a step toward the direction of the exit and then another. Only on her fourth step did she realize something odd. She wasn't closing any distance with her steps. She froze and looked around to realize she was still in the same spot where she started. What? Was this a dream? She had experienced such a thing in dreams before. But she felt too awake, her mind was clear. How sad, I was going to play with your mind a bit more. But you turned out to be stronger than I expected. Kana flinched when she felt breath falling on her neck, coming along with a smooth old voice. Turning back, she found an old man with grayed out hair on the side of his head, and brown in the middle. He had pointy ears, and he wore a creepy grin. The weirdest part about him, however, was the blackbird sitting on his shoulders. It had 4 wings, and electricity flickered around it. This doesn't feel right. Kana gulped and tried to take a step back, and to her relief, she could take a step back. She tried to run away right away, but then she couldn't increase any distance again. Kana paled while the stranger's grin widened. Ha! That look of hope that vanished just now is pure ecstasy. Ah, do that again, make that dreaded expression again. The creepy middle-aged man, or whatever he was, began to laugh as Kana shuddered. What was going on? A nightmare would be acceptable, but this felt too real. Was she going to die today? She heard the rumors of this park recently, but not enough to pay any heed to them. Did she make a mistake? The man walked over to her. He reached out a hand, and she noticed his black nails were long and pointy. She shuddered and squeezed her eyes shut when his cold fingers ran across her cheek. Hoo, look at you shaking, so pleasant. He leaned over to smell her hair, and she tried to hit him with her fist, but he caught it midair. He grinned at her. Man, this is fun. I came here just to kill the 2 obnoxious devil princesses as a, fuck you. To the 2 Satans before I'm inevitably hunted down for killing my king, but this is nice. Maybe I can spare a night before I move with that mission. What this mentally ill man will spare the night with was pretty clear, as he grabbed her neck with his hand and gently caressed it, while staring at her shaky eyes with his hungry ones. In one last desperate attempt, Arima Kana gathered all her energy into her throat and yelled. Help. Somebody help. The devil-like man didn't stop her from yelling, he just grinned down at her more and watched her yell. He found it amusing, and that filled her with dread. Even if someone did come to help, would they be able to do anything against this supernatural being? Oi, stop yelling. Yet, someone did come. Kana's voice froze in recognition, as she looked over the shoulder of the devil to see who just talked. With blonde hair raining down his shoulders, and bright blue eyes shimmering like stars, Aqua stood a few meters behind the devil in his school uniform. Ho! What is this? Someone actually came. The devil let go of her throat by pushing her towards the bench, where she fell on her butt and was frozen, unable to move. Odd how I couldn't sense him, however. Hoo, you're special. Hey Aqua. Run, this is dangerous. You're safe, Arima Kana. Stay put. After shutting down the little girl, I gave the knockoff vampire-looking devil an amused look. I couldn't help but smile, what a stroke of luck. This situation was bigger than I expected, I was hoping to meet only one supernatural, but there were actually 2. The bird on his shoulder seemed to be his pet, yet it was stronger than him. The devil himself focused on mind magic, I think, while the bird's only there to deal heavy hits. A black thunderbird. Black lightning was powerful, killing it will be hard, but fruitful too. As for the devil, he doesn't appear to actually have been a vampire before reincarnated as a devil, his appearance just looks like it. There was nothing really special about him other than that, it's a thing to wonder how he managed to kill his king, as he claimed. He was a stray, so killing him myself shouldn't cause any political trouble. All that thinking blitzed through my head in a second, and by the time the devil spoke for the second time, I had already finished planning the entire fight. Oh, look at you. So brave and young. Ha. You have no idea what sort of situation this is. The devil was proud for some reason as he yelled that. I gave him a blank stare. Not surprised that devils are pedophiles, but still, you're looking at me with the same eyes even though I am a guy. Homosexuality is a sin, indeed. What would you know, you brat? The old man growled, angry at his fetishes being displayed. My expression was gentle like the tranquil sea as I smiled. What more is there to know? You were all touchy with her earlier, but you haven't approached me yet. You are scared. Is that what you're trying to say? Not only are you gay and a pedophile, but you're also a weakling loser, scared of anyone with a bit of magic inside them. No matter, forget it. I am going to finish you now. Of course, he wasn't expecting a sudden change in attitude. I didn't like how he looked, so I decided to finish him quickly. The old man probably didn't expect me to attack right after I said I would, because he tried to say something. He paused when my straightened palm, which was coated in crackling lightning, was inches away from his face. My nails were glowing blue imbued by the lightning, and my entire hand was hundreds of degrees hot. I blitzed from my spot and right in front of him, with my hand going right to his nose. It was supposed to push through his nose and into his skull, but seldom do things go that smoothly. The bird moved from his shoulder fast enough to clash with my hand with its beak, too gleamed with black lightning. In a pure lightning clash, I would lose to that black lightning in my current rank. However, lightning wasn't my only power. I made a slimy movement with my hand so that it just moved from the clash point, and grabbed the bird's neck. The four-winged bird gagged, but I wasn't planning to end it yet, I couldn't. If I tried going for a killing blow now, the devil would attack my opening. So, I used one of the 3 currently available techniques from my path. These 3 techniques each use lightning, water, and wind chi respectively. While the basic lightning technique was for pure destruction, the technique I killed that shut in with, the water technique allows defense, and the wind technique allows movement. The water bubble technique would act as a defense if I wished, but also as the name suggests, it'd act as a binding technique if I wished to. So I cast it on the bird, immediately wrapping it in a circular prison of water, and threw it far in the distance. It'll be able to break free and come back soon, but not soon enough to save its master. Why you? What do you think you're doing? The devil yelled in shock and desperation. His hand reached out with a bolt of mana on its fingertips to blow my skull off, but I shoved it away with my left hand and attacked again with my right. Then, I used the wrath of the roaring sky to simply shove my hand through the gap between his eyes. I didn't apply it in a form that'd pulverize his entire body since I wanted to loot his items, but instead had it coated on my palm that shoved through his brain like a hot knife cutting butter. Ach, with a weird groan, the foolish devil lost his life and fell on his back. Immediately, I heard a screech come from Kana, but by the time I looked at her, she was already unconscious. The scene of seeing a murder was too much for her little heart. Krayach. I heard another screech, but it was from a bird. The black thunderbird rushed towards me with an angry scowl, with lightning crackling around its 4 wings. It appeared pissed, angry enough that it would tear my head with its beak. Its body size increased as it flew, and surely its beak was now big enough to actually do just that. The massive bird flapped its wings a few dozen meters above me and then waved its wings down to shower lightning at me. I ran from the spot to keep Arima Kana away from the lightning's trajectory, and the bird was too enraged, or dumb, to not take her hostage. It followed me with its lightning, and I ran while dodging. Then, I kicked the ground when I found a big stone and used Whirlwind Blink, my wind technique. This technique utilized the wind chi to perform rapid movements, but at the same time, it allows me to execute short-range teleportations by momentarily merging with the wind. One moment I was on the ground, and in the other, I was above the bird. Before the bird could even realize what was going on, I took out a utility knife from my school bag at a rapid speed. I let go of my bag and it fell, but before it could touch the ground, I was done with the bird. The superheated blade extended in a light of burning chi. The blade chi cut through the bird's wings and neck in countless slashes, and it fell to the ground first before the bag. The bird would have been mostly immune to my lightning attack, but it wasn't the case when it was attacked with a hot blade chi. Kriya. The bird moaned on the ground as I landed gently on top of it. I looked at its sad eyes but didn't feel any pity. It chose the wrong master, and now it was paying for its sin. Better luck next time. I shoved the blade chi deep into its eyes, penetrating into its brain as its cries died out. The battle ended in under 2 minutes, and I stood victorious on top of the dead bird's corpse. Master 4th Wall note. Don't forget to vote. If you want to read the next 20+ chapters right away, visit my Patreon. Link. Patreon.com Master 4th Wall. 28 comments 0 vote. 12 absurd decisions. Chapter 12. Absurd Decisions. Note. We didn't reach 1666 stones sadly. Only 1525 this time. Note. We didn't reach 1666 stones sadly. Only 1525 this time. That's not even 500, sad. Lower goal this time then, let's reach 2125 in the next 24 hours. That's 600 stones from where we stand. Should be easy for a double update. Good luck. An expression of distress passed through her sleeping face, and Arima-kana finally opened her eyes. For a split moment, her eyes were clouded by confusion, then she jumped up from the bench and looked around in fright. Where was that creepy man? And Aqua? He just murdered that guy. There were no signs of blood on the spot the creepy man had fallen after death. No blood anywhere, in fact. It was still nighttime. It's not been that long since school ended. So it was a nightmare in the end. She heaved a heavy sigh. Of course, it was a dream, how could such things be real? It was very clear, she remembered every bit of it, but she has heard about lucid nightmare before, this must be one of those. After all, a four-winged bird, a devil, and Aqua with magical powers. Obviously a dream. She blushed a little. Why did I dream of him coming to save me though? Was God giving her a sign that Aqua was the savior she needed in these hard times? Then, wearing an ever-growing blush as she recalled Aqua from her dreams, what he had told her, Arima-kana walked back to her home with her head filled with weird thoughts. I watched the short little girl leave the park from a distance. It's good that she's alright even though she is pretty dumb to come to a place rumored to be weird. When she left, I returned my attention to the scrapes of artifacts and the dead body of a bird behind me. I was currently in the middle of a cluster of trees that hid me from the eyes outside. The body of the devil, who I didn't even know the name of, was nowhere to be found. Because I have turned it into ashes after scavenging him for loot. Unfortunately, there weren't many things of interest to him. Since this world poses to be normal on the surface, magical artifacts aren't easily get your hands on. Even then, these were scraps. He only had 3 artifacts anyway. One was a ring with properties that created a scary aura around him. The other one was much more interesting, it was a box filled with herbs of different kinds. The ring didn't interest me at all, but I can see many uses for the herbs. In fact, there is even a 100-year-old ginseng. The third one was a box too, except, it was weird. I held the golden box, designed to fit perfectly in any Mesoamerican myths, and tried to open it. Won't budge. Sealed with some of divinity. Interesting how such a weak devil has this type of possession. Maybe he stole it from his dead king. I didn't know what the box held in itself. It was as long as my forearm, and just as deep too. So it might be a small artifact, or maybe a long weapon if there was spatial manipulation going on inside it. Curious. Still, I couldn't open it as I was. This wasn't something my knowledge or spells would help with, I needed to be at least at the Underlord rank for this. No matter, that wasn't the main loot. The main loot was the bird. It lay dead, with its soul essence leaking out of it. Earlier, I had put a seal on its body to slow the leaking as I wanted to wait until Arima-kana would leave, otherwise, all essence would have left by now. I sat down near the bird in a crossed leg motion. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath in. My body breathed in the aura in the air, the remnant energy of the bird, and even its soul. The moon glowed high in the sky, and half an hour passed. The bird's body looked the same as before, but all its life force that was yet to leave, its mana, and even its soul was now gone. Nature would have claimed it in a usual scenario, but it was me instead. My body brimmed with chi, the energy was on the verge of breaking free. I breathed in a very strict pattern, the heaven and earth purification wheel followed my command as I deepened my chi pool. There was a wall, like the floor of a well, that I pushed for the first time in 7 years with the help of the just consumed lightning essence of the bird. My chi pool caved in, and an aura burst out of my body like a spear of light. The sky went bright, and nature sang with the wind. Dark clouds gathered, lightning danced, and then rain fell. It all happened in a split second, as I opened my eyes with a strange electric blue glint in them. I have reached gold. I could train on 3 new techniques now. I stood up, feeling rain trickling down my nose and hair. I looked up at the sky, which roared when it met my gaze. The sound of thunder, the smell of rain, and all my other senses were at an all-time high now. My copper sight was brighter than before, and my jade perception was more descriptive. I could see the insects in the leaves in the distance, and more than that, I felt as if I could split the earth's core with my bare hands. Beautiful. The foundation stage made one's body strong. Copper heightened your spirits. Iron caused your body's growth again, and jade focused on your spirit. On gold, however, both body and spirit are enhanced. The gold stage was divided into 3, unlike any other ranks. It was low gold, high gold, and true gold. Due to how long I've been holding my advancement back, my chi pool was large enough to enter the rank of true gold from the get-go. This was the reason why I held back for so long, because there were no actual drawbacks once you advanced. The rain grew stronger. I could tell it would rain until tomorrow. My advancement had the sky reacting. I can return right now, but I decided against it. A few more minutes. There was an invisible aura around me. I couldn't even see it with my copper sight. It was truly hidden from one's eye until it would flare up in case of an attack. This was the gold sign of the path of the raging sky. I gained access to this passive aura of electricity that'd calm the nerves of those in my close proximity by sending slight shivers of relaxation by default. The passive aura can turn actively offensive too, and pulverize any sudden attack or attacker. Very useful. It really was. Then, I looked at the box of medicine, the ring, and the dead body of the bird near me. I can surely just vaporize the bird, but its bones may be useful in the future. However, I didn't have a spatial ring to keep it stored. Such a thing would truly have been useful, so I suppose I'll just make a spatial realm for myself. I couldn't have done this before. Gold was a phenomenal stage. It was the peak for the majority of the martial artists in the original world from which I picked this power system from. So it provided a lot of benefits, more so for me who owned the legendary Grand Mist body. Grand Mist is infinity, it is creation. On a truly high cultivation level, I would be able to create literal universes within myself. It was the original purpose of the body, to begin with. At gold stage, I wasn't on that level yet, but I could surely make a spatial inventory to store things in. I sat down again, and this lasted about 5 minutes. This process required experience above all, and if I was anything, it was experienced. I spent the next 5 minutes in hyper-concentration to imagine a square room with walls that showed fake stars and the cosmos as a whole. It was a large room, a kilometer long on all sides, and I'll be able to make it larger over the ranks. When I was done making it, I stood back up and touched the bird. It vanished in the air and was stored in that space. The area lacks the concept of time, so it will stay as good as new forever. I did the same with the box of herbs, the ring, and the divine box. Will keeping the strange divine box with me be safe? Maybe not. Will some random god come hunt for me? Maybe. Do I care? No, I like how the box looks, so I'll be keeping it in my space until I can open it. I can't just keep calling it space. What's a good name? Soon, I decided on void storage, since it truly was a small void universe turned into a storage room. I stretched under the rain, taking in a deep breath while a grin filled my face. Advancing feels good, eh? Just 5 more ranks and I will complete this. I used Whirlwind Blink to run past roofs toward home. The sky embraced me as I ran, and the wind carried me gently, but I was still late. By the time I reached home, soaked like I just walked out of the washing machine, the rain had grown to its strongest. I felt a little hesitation when I went to ring the bell. Damn it. I will be mad. I could handle it if there was no rain since I had an excuse prepared, but this is troublesome. I rang the bell anyway and waited for the sound of footsteps. However, there were no footsteps heard, yet the door opened right away. Someone's been waiting right behind the door for the bell to ring. Are you out of your mind? Of course, it was I. She wore a scary scowl, her eyes filled with anger and worry as she grabbed me by my ear. The situation didn't allow me to dodge as she pulled my head by my ear and yanked me inside. First day at high school, and he thinks he is so big now. You rebellious little shit, just you wait and see what I do. What she did was put me on the couch and dry my head with a towel while yelling at me like every mom should in this situation. More than annoyed or angry, I just laughed at her threats and insults. Apparently, Ruby didn't tell her the reason I suggested she tell. That little shit didn't do as ordered because I didn't take her with me. What an unreliable dumbass. I received a small break from the lecture so that I could change my wet clothes. After I got changed into warmer clothes, however, I was once again pushed to the couch. I sat, and I jumped to sit on top of me, facing me. That's a bit too intimate of a position for our relationship, but such boundaries never really existed in her mind due to how young she was when she had us. I felt her body relax as she sat on my lap. It was the effect of my gold sign, though she didn't even realize the effect. She was used to feeling relaxed around her children. I put her hands on my shoulder as she looked into my eyes with intent as if this was a good position to assert her dominance over me. Why did you not come home right away? You know, Ruby complained about it the moment she got back. Of course she did, that little shit. I'll delay the next teaching session as a punishment. But that's for later, now I decided to be harsh with I about the truth. You are being too controlling, don't you think? This is why I didn't go with you to America, so I could have enjoyed my time without being monitored all the time. I frowned in shock. And no way, I am not controlling. It's your fault that you just vanish without any trail every now and then, I have to be careful. I don't want to lose you to any accidents. Stupid. Wait, do you actually have a girlfriend or what? Why else would a teenage boy stay out of the house alone, without any friends, and not even take his sister along? What is this stupid situation? I sighed as I put my hands around her waist. She didn't react, she didn't care, I was her son, and I could touch her anywhere and she wouldn't mind. She was weird like that. Mom, these muscles can kill. I showed a demonstration by squeezing her waist, and her face reddened just a little, but she shook it off. I won't get into any accidents. And why do you care so much if I have a girl or not? Should I actually just get a girlfriend to get under her skin? That'd also let me have free time outside as an excuse. Actually, that's not a bad idea. Why shouldn't I care? She scowled. You won't get it since you're a guy. Also since you're a kid. I just want to make sure the girl my son is out with isn't a weirdo, and also that my son is treating her well. And, I want her to know that, if she were to get pregnant accidentally, she doesn't have to worry. We will have the child, and you will marry her. That made me feel uncomfortable. Not for any personal reason, but because I suddenly understood why she was always so curious if I had a girlfriend or not. She had Ruby and me in private, she didn't have a family, and she received no support. Well, other than President Ichigo. My biological father didn't even come to see her when we were born, and I'm sure she also knows that the shut-in from years ago was somehow related to our father because we changed houses right away and she never called him again. I just didn't want her tragedy to repeat. However, she actually wasn't too controlling about it either. If she was, she would have banned dating for Ruby and me until we were a bit older, but she was fine with it, she just wanted to meet our partner to give them her support. She was being a sweet mother, a very good one. I stared at her in silence before sighing in exaggeration. I was out with a friend. It is a girl but not my girlfriend. Maybe I'll get a girlfriend soon though, if I find a girl I like, I'll bring her to you when we are official, alright? Eyes were twinkling by the time I finished, she leaned over and kissed me on the nose. Yes, of course, I'll wait. Until then, don't forget to use protection. Saying so she got up, and left the living room while hopping around. Weirdo. I like her a lot. I didn't technically lie just now. I was out with Arima Kana, kind of. As for the latter part, I don't like anyone romantically even though I know a few who liked me in turn. Tsubasa was one of them, I'm pretty sure her signs are positive, but I'll feel bad to date her just as an excuse to go out anytime. Plus, she lives just nearby, so I can't run far from home. Should I start interacting with girls more than usual? Maybe I'll find someone I find compatible. Alright then, it's decided. It was morning, and my eyes fluttered open faster than usual. The drowsiness one would feel when waking up was almost non-existent compared to yesterday. However, I didn't wake up naturally. It was the annoying voice of Ruby, whom I took the chance to smack the face of. Aqua. AQ. She smacked me back in return, though I easily dodged it, but she didn't try to hit me again. Her expression was frightened, and she was dying to tell me something. Hey, wake up, Oni-chan. Come see what mom did. What the fuck is going on? I growled and got up, realizing she has been sitting on top of my abdomen, and me getting up put her on her back, creating quite an interesting scene that I broke by hopping off the bed. What's going on? I asked while rubbing my eyes, staring at her. I ignored her last night thanks to what she did, yet now she had the guts to come wake me up. I'll be pissed if it's something silly she is doing to get my attention. Gee, go ask her yourself, bastard. She was blushing thanks to the weird position just earlier as she yelled. Maybe it really is something serious. I walked out of my room and found Tsubasa already waiting at the dining table, dressed in the school uniform and drinking tea, as she waved at me. I was just there too, putting sandwiches together for me. Mom, what's going on? Ruby disturbed my sleep and said you did something. Oh, Aqua's up. Tsubasa showed me an apologetic smile when I talked, while I cheered. Tsubasa's reaction was worrying. Did I really do something stupid again? Hey, look at this. I ran at me with her Gmail app opened. She got too close to me, but I was used to it, as she showed me her latest mail. Last night, after talking to you, I emailed an old director acquaintance with a request, and he agreed to help me out. I mean, of course, he did, it's Hoshino reaching out to him. Anyway, see this. I stared at the email, blinking, rubbing my eyes again to make sure I wasn't sleepy, and then snapped my head at I with a baffled face. You got to be fucking kidding me. Hey, language, brat. It's just a dating show, it's not that bad. Who knows, maybe you will find someone you like there. Even if you don't, you will gain popularity from acting there, so when the show ends you will have so many girls after you. Then you'll be able to get a girlfriend. I'm such an awesome mom, I know. No, what is this? I am not going to act on a fucking dating reality show. What the fuck is this woman thinking? In the end, no amount of arguing saved me. I had to agree to another of her hastily taken decisions for the umpteenth time, and also realized that avoiding some canon events was a lot harder than I thought it'd be. Oh well. I guess I'll go. I can save a life if I go, plus I did have a point when she said her logic for this. Good luck to me, I suppose. If you want to read the next 20 plus chapters right away, visit my Patreon. Link. Patreon.com Master 4th Wall. 38 comments 0 vote. 13 Japanese Showbiz and Mexican Gods. Chapter 13. Japanese Showbiz and Mexican Gods. A bit later, I and Ruby were dressed in our uniforms as we sat at the dining table and ate. Tsubasa was there too today, dressed as well, and I was sitting on a chair beside her. But mama, if even Oni-chan is starting his career, what about me? While Ruby certainly found it very funny that I was going to be tortured through this thing, she also felt left behind. Though I had an urge to correct her that this was not the start of my career, because this will never be my career, I held back the urge and ate breakfast. You know, my classmates were asking me what I do, some even made fun of me because I was attending the performing arts program without actually having anything going on in my name. Oh. Did I tell you I met Shiranui Frill? She didn't recognize me either. I gave Ruby a hesitant smile. Ah, Ruby baby, your case and your brothers are a bit different. But I wanna. Mama. She jumped from the table and went around to hug I from behind. Make me an idol already. I stared at her antics with deadpan eyes, noticing that she stuck her tongue out at me. How silly. I was sweating as she chewed on her lip, and it lasted until Tsubasa joined and took Ruby's side. I mean, I-san, you started at the age of 12, right? I don't see an issue if Ruby debuts at 15. I sighed with a defeated look. Fine. I kind of wish you didn't want to be an idol. It has its downsides. However, since you have a wish, your mama will grant it. I didn't want her daughter to be stalked and potentially killed, is what she meant. Ruby woke up that day after I passed out after healing I, but neither of us ever told her what had truly happened when she was asleep. So, oblivious as she was, she grinned widely at I's words and kissed her. I love you. Mwah. Silly girl, finish your food. Aqua, darling, look how you inspired your sister to start her own career too. Ahaha, come on, smile a little. My deadpan stare, as I munched on food, shifted from Ruby into I as the mother-daughter pair began to giggle at whatever they found funny. What is this? Unbelievable. Ha, indeed, the world is harsh for kind souls such as I, living hard lives while always getting taken advantage of. After we ate breakfast, we left for school. Ruby tried to mess with me on the way, but a spank in public made her shut up. Tsubasa was a bit worried about the whole ordeal, though, unsure if I will make a fool out of myself, but I told her to rest assured. She mistook my oblivious little boy to act to her as a real trait. Ha, I couldn't help but shame my head. She had no idea I had stolen her heart without even trying. I paused on my way. We were right around the school and the road was filled with cherry blossom trees on either side. The rosy leaves fell and I couldn't help but look at the sky with a sigh. Once again, I've stolen a maiden's heart without her realizing. Sometimes it was hard to live life with my uncontrollable charisma. Though I suppose in the dating show, I'll have to take a bit of an active approach. Maybe I will use my personality from Sorcerer of Eternity life there. Back then I used to take daughters from kings and emperors as payment for my help. On a second thought, never mind, that'd be an overkill. I'll just flirt normally. I caught up to the two girls who were already inside the school and went our own way to our classrooms. Classes went without any issues. After the homeroom ended, Shizuka-sensei came near my seat and asked if everything was going well. She did give me the heavy duty of taking care of another student, so perhaps she thought she'd keep tabs on me. I and Shoko told her everything was going well, and she seemed pleased with that. A few hours later, lunch break happened, and I was surprised when someone came to look for me. Hey, Aqua. From the door of the classroom, Tsubasa waved her hand at me. The other classmates turned to look at her, the boys shockingly staring at her massive chest, while I waved back. Why's she here? I wondered for a moment while I was already making my way to her while Shoko followed me. What's up? Let's eat together. Ah, this must be Shoko, right? I think I told her and Ruby earlier that I would like to eat alone today, yet Tsubasa was here. Perhaps she was too curious about Shoko whom I told her about yesterday. Oh well. It was unavoidable, they'd have met later anyway. Let's get out of here first, I told them and walked out of the classroom, making our way to the backyard of the school. While walking past the hallways, I talked to Shoko and Tsubasa simultaneously with my voice and hands. Her name is Tsubasa Seitu. She is the daughter of my uncle, my cousin. She's in second year of the general program. I told Shoko, who nodded rapidly. Her name is Shoko Nishiyama, she is my classmate. Cute girl, deaf by birth, teacher told me to take care of her, but I like her so it's not a bother, you know the rest. I said to Tsubasa who just listened with a smile. She's cute, Tsubasa said. Ah, sadly I don't know sign language, I'd have loved to communicate with her more directly. When did you learn it, though? A long time ago. Shoko chimed in. What is she saying? She's calling you cute. I said, seeing no point in lying. Shoko blinked, blushing, and Tsubasa turned to look at me surprised. Did you just tell her what I said? Just the first bit. I shrugged. Naughty, you shouldn't have. Now I feel embarrassed. She walked around from my right side and to my left, beside Shoko. She took out a small notebook and pen. Oh, she came here prepared. Here, we don't need Aqua anymore, we can talk using this. Ah, Aqua, one last translation please. I raised an eyebrow at her but told Shoko about it anyway. She quickly nodded, taking the notebook from Tsubasa, and smiled. The rest of the day went smoothly. I told Shoko about my acting gig that was forced upon me, and she seemed really excited about it. She said she was excited to see me on television, and regretted that she won't be able to hear my voice, and asked me in a pleading voice if there would be subtitles for the show. I didn't know, but I told her there would be. Though perhaps there won't be any need for subtitles, at the rate my emotions were progressing. Other than that, I was really expecting a devil to come to meet me by now. I did get stronger overnight, but if they could sense it they didn't show it, and so I was left alone for another day. I didn't mind that, I preferred that. At least for today, I did. Because I'll have to go act on a stupid dating reality show after school ends, I preferred some space before that. Unfortunately, that time came soon, and I found myself on the filming set in no time. Third-person point of view. Countless dimensions were interconnected with Earth, belonging to pantheons of gods both large and small. For a mortal magician to enter them, they'd have to find the gate. If it's in an underworld then the gate is located on the surface, but if it's a heaven, the gate can be found in the sky. In the vast sky of central Mexico, a very experienced space mage would be able to find the gate to Topan, the 13-layered heaven of the Aztec pantheon. Each layer held countless souls and also gods, taken by the gods based on their divinity type. The first heaven, for example, titled the Ilhaucatl Mestli, which means the sky where the moon moves, is taken by lunar gods and weather gods. The ninth heaven, Ilhaucatl Teoiztac, which means the region of white, is taken by the king of gods and dragon, Quetzalcoatl. This realm was shrouded by a purely white sky, with luminous stars spread across. The clouds in this realm were golden and green, as was the endless forest that existed there. The entire forest surrounded only one thing, a fortress of white marble, tall enough to touch the sky. Quetzalcoatl allowed only her servants to live in this palace. The Tzitzimitls were the servants who lived in the palace with the duty to serve their lord. They were all minor divinities, gods so to speak. The majority of them perform day-to-day tasks while some hold the power to destroy human cities. One such guy was the Jaguar warrior. Built like a unit, he walked through the hallways and approached the room of the lord of this realm. He stopped in front of a large door and paused for a moment before knocking on the door. Come in. A sweet voice came, and Jaguar warrior pushed the door open. He walked in and paused, finding the lord, the god in spirit, Quetzalcoatl herself, in a not very respectful attire. Her long blonde hair fell on the loose shirt, a common human cloth in this era, that she was wearing. The shirt was loose, but not loose enough because it wrapped around her large breasts alluringly. The fabric reached down to her waist, and she was wearing nothing under, from the looks of it. She crossed her leg to cover her privates and looked at him with her emerald eyes while lying on the bed. Image here. Jaguar warrior closed his eyes, sighed in his head, and bowed. You summoned me, Lord. Beyond that, I must comment that you shouldn't get that comfortable wearing such a thing. It doesn't suit you, in my humble opinion. In his opinion, who was wearing an armor made out of a jaguar hood, something more beastly would suit her. The goddess was too influenced by modern human culture, perhaps that was to be expected because she spent her time in her room in front of her computer or phone all day long. My, you're questioning my choice of clothes now. You've come far. As usual, the goddess' voice was as ethereal as that of a seductress, yet at the same time that of a mother. But Jaguar warrior was not fooled by that. He recalled that day when he saw the true form of this being, a serpentine dragon that dwarfed mountains, who went toe-to-toe against his previous lord, the jaguar god of night who was Quetzalcoatl's rival. Quetzalcoatl won. But instead of taking the jaguar god Tezcatlipoca's life, however, she claimed Tezcatlipoca's strongest avatar for herself. That was him, who didn't even have a name anymore and was simply known as the Jaguar Man. It had been a long time since that incident. That smiling and cheerful appearance was not to be fooled with. That woman was the king of the Aztec gods, even god kings from other pantheons such as Zeus and Odin wouldn't want to fight her. My apologies, Lord. Jaguar Man kept his head down and apologized for his brass tone. No, it's fine. Stand up. She waved her hand at him. I have a job for you. Of course she did. He was her first pick for anything. She showed him off like a trophy by giving him any job she could. Lord. The goddess leaned her back on two soft pillows. You remember the box of Shalette? That went missing a few dozen years ago. Yes. What about it? Shalette was the dog god of death, he was the brother of Quetzalcoatl. A few dozen years ago, a box belonging to him had gone missing. There was a big uproar from that incident, but the box was never found. That box's location was recently found. A devil, from the three factions, had it. We are unsure how, but it seems that he stole it using some method. He died a few days ago and that's when the veil that he was using to keep the box hidden was undone. We were alerted about the location right away, but we didn't make a move since it was in the devil's underworld. It'd have been more trouble than worth it if they invaded the devil's underworld for it. Even if it was very important. Then, as I said, he was killed, and the box was picked up by the guy who killed him. Turns out it was his subordinate. You know about the concept of stray devils, right? It's one of those cases. The stray fled to the human world, and now we are ready to go retrieve it. It was last seen in Japan last time, and oddly, its trail is gone now. Jaguar warrior frowned, hearing her out as she ended the speech with an order. I want you to go down there in Japan and bring the box back. Oh, two sisters of two Satans are there, be careful not to hurt them unless necessary. Other than that, destroy anybody. Blood, but you have to bring the box back here. That was a sudden order, to go to Japan of all places, but an order it was. With another bow, Jaguar warrior promised. As you wish. I'll be back with the box as soon as possible. For a second, he wondered in whose possession it was currently. However, soon he decided it didn't matter. He would go and retrieve the box, and if there was any form of resistance, he would simply destroy the source. Master 4th Wall note. Sad, failed the goal this time too. I'll lower it a bit again, this time we go for 2,555 power stones. If we reach that mark in the next 24 hours, I'll post 2 chapters at once. Vote. If you want to read the next 20 plus chapters right away, visit my Patreon. Link. Patreon.com Master 4th Wall. 14 Charisma 1. Chapter 14. Charisma 1. Ruby wanted to be an idol, and her mama had given her permission for it. However, she also proposed a challenge for her to overcome, it was a test. Ruby had to recruit 2 other girls for her idol team, and she couldn't reveal her real identity as the Eye's daughter for leverage. Naturally, the first person she asked was none other than Tsubasa. Hey, Tsubasa, become an idol with me. However, her request was promptly shut down. Don't be ridiculous, I am studying to take on the job of my father, the president of an agency. I will most likely be taking care of your career in the future, why are you asking me to become an idol with you? Ruby had nothing to add to that. This conversation took place when they just left their home for school, so Ruby didn't feel too down. She decided to ask some others to join her. Sadly, when she asked Minami about it, she was once again rejected. However, her friend was a lot gentler about it than Tsubasa. In the end, she didn't even go to meet Aqua during lunch break, because she was busy thinking about who else she could ask to become an idol with her. With no choice left, she had the audacity to message Aqua mid-class to ask him for ideas. He wasn't going to help at first, but after her pleading and apologizing, he told her to try her luck on Kana Arima. She was unsure at first but decided to go through it in the end. She caught up with Tsubasa after school ended, while Aqua bid them farewell to go to her shooting thing, something that still amazed Ruby, as she asked Tsubasa to help her approach Kana. Tsubasa Ne-chan. Come on, help me with this. After her sugar-coated words and cute calls, Tsubasa hesitantly agreed. The two of them hunted down Kana and confronted her. But instead of proposing the idea to her directly, she did something odd. Hey, Loli-senpai. Once Ruby spotted her walking, she called from afar, making Kana flinch as people looked. Tsubasa sighed and followed after. It's you again, what do you want? Loli-senpai, do you want to come to our house? Well, she was going to take her to Tsubasa's house, but it counted. We are gonna watch the first episode of Aqua's new drama, will you join us? The plan was to show her that Tsubasa was the daughter of the super famous Strawberry Productions, and then Ruby would reveal the deal to her. Though it was true that they were going to watch the first episode of Aqua's drama first. Kana Arima looked flabbergasted, as Ruby had expected, and agreed to come along with a long stutter. Why's he acting all of a sudden? Didn't he say he stopped acting? What is this situation? Fine, I'll come along, I am just curious what sort of masterpiece made him return to this path. The face she made when Ruby told her about the dating reality show was pure entertainment, it was so priceless that Ruby couldn't help but take a picture. The filming range was in a neighboring town. It took me half an hour by Uber to reach here. 2 days per week, there is a shooting. It's right after school because the drama's plot is like that, where a bunch of high school students hang around together after their classes end. Soon, I reached my destination. My Uber stopped outside Rinshi no Mori Park. It was a park of greenery, tall trees, and soil pathways. It's a nature park, and it smelled nice. I paid the driver and walked towards the gate. I was a bit surprised to find someone especially waiting for me at the gate, as he lit up in recognition when I walked forward. I recognized him, I heard his name a lot of times from and had done a bit of research on him before out of pure curiosity. It was the producer, Masaya Kaburagi. Ah, you're finally here. The man had a cigarette on his lips as he spoke, looking at me from up and down. I sent me your photo, but in the day of Photoshop, we can never be sure of pictures. Though it looks like I got it reversed in your case, you look better in person than in the pictures. I'd have questioned his sexual preferences but I decided he won't laugh, so I just gave a nod. Thanks, I try to stay in shape. Follow me. Let's talk while we walk to the set. He said and began to walk into the park, and I followed. It's rare to see I recommend someone, though. What's your relationship with her? I don't think it'd be a good idea for me to say it if she didn't herself, I followed. Fair. He turned to take another look at my face. If I wasn't bigger and more muscular than the original timeline Aqua, he might have guessed my identity. However, now it'd be hard to connect I and me together. He continued walking. The beginning of my love with an idol, that's the name of the show. I won't be surprised if you don't know that, though don't worry, you're already a good actor in my head, even if you didn't appear in any show. Since you were recommended by the best, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt until you prove to be a bad choice. Quite a harsh language to use on a 15-year-old, I told him, and my tone made sure that I didn't take it to heart. What's the limit of entertainment here, by the way? Is it all right if things were to develop in ways where two parties kiss in the first episode? I wanted to be sure because I can't be sure what I will do once the camera rolls. The producer took another look at me before letting out a chuckle. It's not recommended, but it's not banned either. It's just, we promote the tension that accumulates between the characters over the episodes. But if someone kisses someone in the first episode, they're passed as couples right away. So the tension is less between them. However, as this is a dating, reality, show, which doesn't have any scripts, you are free to do anything you want. Nudity isn't any good though. The producer kindly explained. That's good to know. Usually, kiss scenes happened in the last episode, so if I were to boldly kiss a girl in the first episode, I'll basically be tied to her unless some crazy drama went off later. Now, we are here. The producer stopped on his steps, and I did too. We were behind a camera crew, while a bunch of kids were in the front, talking and taking test shots. The kids stopped when we approached and turned to me. I could see their expressions shift as they saw me. There were 7 people in total, with 4 girls and 3 guys. An uneven number. As today was the first day of the shooting, my joining now meant I have replaced someone who was already chosen previously. Everybody, this is our last guy. Name's Aquamarine Hoshino, age 15, first year at high school. The producer said, making the majority of the actors and actresses blink at my name. What are these kids looking at? And Aqua, these are. After that, the producer gave me a brief of my fellow actors and actresses. I was unsure how this would go, since they seemed to have a bad impression of me from the start, taking me for someone with nepotism. Let's talk about the guys first. Starting from the youngest, it's a guy called Saṃsāra, singer, high school first year. Next was Nobuyuki Kunand, a dancer, high school second year. After that, it was Morimoto Kengo, band member, high school third year. They gave me mixed looks that I didn't take to heart. I could understand why some might have a bad impression of me given the context. Next were the girls. First was Yuki Sumi, fashion model, high school first year. She was weird. There was an odd aura around her, similar to my school's principal. She had made a deal with the devil. Next, it was the main girl of the series, Akane Kurakawa, actress, high school second year. She was fine as I remembered, though nervous and flustered. Our eyes met, and she did a little how. She's adorable. The next one was also interesting. If Yuki had made a deal with a devil, this girl was a devil. Mem Cho, YouTuber, self-proclaimed third year high school. She dressed like a devil in the anime, but in this world, she really was the real deal. Half devil, to be precise, from what I read on her aura. The last one was another interesting one. I was a bit surprised. Why were 3 out of the 4 girls magical? The 4th in particular surprised me the most because I recognized her. She's the main girl from another anime. With glossy black hair that danced with the wind, I recalled she was an actress in her anime. She was in her 3rd year of high school, too. Mai Sakurajima, actress, high school 3rd year. Based on how my copper sight noted the translucent rabbit ears on her head, it really was the bunny girl senpai. 3rd-person point of view, Yuki Sumi. Coming to this show was an unavoidable accident for her, thanks to her agency. They had to send someone, and luck just had it that it was her. She didn't mind it too much, but she'd have still preferred something else other than a dating reality show. She honestly didn't believe she would find someone suitable to her taste. Not that her taste was particularly rare, but it just didn't go with the theme these shows had. They cast cute young girls and pretty little boys. She was more into strong dominant guys, so she naturally hadn't come here expecting to meet anyone like that. Of course, she was still going to play her part and garner all the attention towards her, and she was more sure of that when she came to the filming set and met others. The girls might pose a challenge, especially that 3rd year my girl, but it should be easy enough to sway the guys toward her. She had seen their pictures, and one of the guys was missing. Apparently, he had been replaced at the last moment. She didn't mind or care, since he wasn't her target. To begin with, she planned to go after Nobuyuki, so it didn't matter if someone else were to get replaced. Nobuyuki didn't really fill her preferences, but he was better than the others. He was tall and handsome too, even if he was too lean and still on the pretty boy side. All of her plans were splashed with water when the replacement actor finally arrived. It was as if the Satans were amused by her desire to find a suitable man, that they sent a guy right out of her dream. Blonde hair, blue eyes, tall, muscular, handsome, manly, and such a deep vibe around him. She didn't know she had a thing for long hair, but now she did. For generations, Yuki Sumi's family's been making deals with the devils. At the age of 15, every member is allowed to make their first deal with the devils too. Yuki turned 15 a while ago, and the deal she chose was luck in popularity. It might feel cheap to some people as the price was her literal soul, but she didn't mind. All right. Now that everyone is here, the producer spoke after he finished introducing all of them. Let us begin today's shoot. As it is the first episode and we want to keep the feeling a bit raw, for the viewers, it will be a near live broadcast. The situation in front of the camera will be delayed for only a minute before it's broadcasted. Our editors will fix anything they can within that bit. A few minutes later, the filming began for real. Yuki didn't want to appear too desperate, so she didn't go talk with Aquamarine first. She decided to give each of the guys a few minutes, one after the other, and only then move to her target. First, she went to Saṃsāra, but he was the same age as her, and that was too young for her, so he didn't have a chance from the get-go. Next, she went to Morimoto Kengo. He was the oldest guy here, but as she had expected, he wasn't her type. Then she went to talk to Nobuyuki Kunand, who was 1 year older than her. He was her initial target, and he was somewhat interesting. She spent a few extra minutes than others with Nobuyuki. However, she ended it soon as well and moved to her target. She wasn't surprised when she turned to look for him and found him sitting on a bench, with the Memcho girl sitting beside him. They were having a light-hearted conversation, based on their giggles. Yuki, of course, had expected him to be engaged in a conversation already. It was natural, the first episode was where everyone would talk to everyone. So she decided to wander around a bit before she would go meet him. She wished that Memcho girl would be gone by then, she was a bit threatening since she was the oldest girl here besides my Sakurajima. 33 comments 0 vote. 15 Charisma 2. Chapter 15. Charisma 2. Note, oh no, forgot to put up a challenge yesterday. Let's make up for it today. It's a good time too since it's a new week, we might reach top 5. Goal, 200 power stones in the next 60 minutes. I will post the next chapter right away. The evening sky was calming, the wind gentle, and the sound of the pond water behind me was relaxing. I sat down on the bench beside the half-devil, Memcho, who was much more tense than me, though she didn't show it. The reason why she was tense was because I wasn't veiling my chi, she knew I wasn't a normal human, and that I probably knew her true identity. A half-devil. What family are you from? I started the conversation with that, causing her muscles to tense as she sat stiffly while wearing a shaky smile. Haha, would you believe me if I said I don't know what you're talking about? She said, looking to the side and not meeting my eyes. I can feel you're special, so I am assuming you know that I am too, but I have no idea what your question means. Ah, I see. I shrugged. Understandable since you are not pureblood. Your father probably found a good-looking human woman and slept with her, you were the result. Then he left. Ah, or was it your mother, instead? It's my father. She said, still a bit tense, but less than before given I was being pretty casual. Don't worry, I am not here to hunt you or anything. I don't hold any prejudice toward the devils, definitely not towards a half who doesn't even know her identity. I reached out a hand and put it on her thighs, trying to reassure her. I looked into her eyes, smiling. Besides, even if I was one of those guys from the hero faction who hunt devils, I don't think I'd have the guts to take down such a cutie like you. That made her ease finally, as she smiled back. I'll take your word for that, then. Though I have no idea about that faction you just spoke of. I see. It was true I didn't hold any prejudice towards devils, even if I was killed in my second life by my devil wife. I don't hate the entire race well, I don't hate her either at this point, it's been too long, holding on to grudges in my kind of life wasn't satisfying. Though it was untrue that I wouldn't have killed her if I was in such a situation. I killed the hottest woman in the universe in my 9th life. That bitch tried to steal half of my power after we broke up after dating for a few years as if it was a common Western marriage. Rest assured, then, I told her, drawing my hand back. My eyes scanned the area as we sat in silence. Memcho stayed silent too, until she cleared her throat and decided to speak. By the way, it seems there are quite a few special people in this place. Especially the girls. I think my Sakurajima is a yokai, and I'm unsure about what Yuki Sumi is, but she also has a sort of aura around her. Only that girl, she nudged her nose ahead. Akane is normal, I think. Same with all the guys, other than yourself. You're right. I suppose it's more common than I thought for supernatural people to be in the showbiz world. Perhaps that's why some entertainers seem too good at their job to be human. I theorized. By the way, are you single? Yes. She answered hesitantly, and then a smug smile formed on her lips. She leaned toward me. Era, did Aquamarine-kun build a crush on Senpai? Don't you usually play the cute girl role? What is this era now? It doesn't suit you, shorty. I flicked a finger on her nose, which she didn't take offense to, and just jiggled. Just call me Aqua, by the way. As for your question, maybe I do. It's rare to meet a girl who looks so young at the age of 25, after all. That was when she choked on her own spit with her eyes going wide. I rushed away from the bench and brought a bottle of water for her, and she quickly drank it. She gave me a look, and she somehow looked more scared that I knew her real age, than when I knew her race. She looked up from the bench and gave me a pleading look. Keep it a secret. Only if you give me your number. She frowned, before sighing with a blush, as she took her phone out from her handbag. You're not funny. You could have just asked me for it, I'd have given it anyway. Why did you have to scare me? You're a bad boy. I sat back down, this time a bit closer than before, with my arms around her. Who says I am not funny? Girl, I'm hilarious. I can prove it to you. By the way, a camera is focused on us right now, let's not talk about that other stuff. I whispered the last line as I took out my own phone. We exchanged contacts, and Mem Cho got curious about what I said. You said you can prove it. I am curious how. Said the same girl who was laughing like a hydraulic brake to my bad jokes just a minute later. Lesson of reincarnation. Girls have mid-ass humor, sometimes non-existent. Make stupid and unfunny jokes and they'll love it. Make actually funny jokes, they won't even get it. In the meantime, as the live broadcast went on, there was a lack of sound in Tsubasi's home. 3 girls sat together, in front of a large TV that hung in the wall, as they stared at the scene with wide eyes and hanging jaws. Who the fuck is that? Ruby was the first to break the silence as she questioned reality. Was that really Aqua, the doofus guy who ignored all the confessions he received in middle school? This doesn't seem right. Tsubasa wore a worried frown, looking at the screen as if Aqua was suddenly mentally sick. Sure, this was acting, but how was he suddenly a flirt compared to his uncaring but innocent self from before? Kana Arima, on the other hand, just had a drained expression as she stared at the screen. TCH. Ruby humphed. Oni-chan is a male after all, who stops thinking straight in front of a female that suits his kinks. I thought he didn't like girls deliberately trying to be cute, but what is this? Shameless. It was then that Miyako walked into the room, carrying a tray full of snacks. Everyone turned to her, with Kana's eyes going wide in recognition, recalling that face as that of the legendary Eyes manager, as she put the snacks down on the table in front of the girl's couch. As she did, her eyes flickered to the scene in the TV and a strange expression passed through her face before vanishing. Hey, auntie, look at how disgusting Oni-chan is acting. Ruby announced while Kana leaned towards Tsubasa to confirm her theory. Miyako gave them an awkward smile. It's just acting, girls. I guess you guys don't like seeing a man you're close with talking that way with other girls, but don't take it for reality. It's like how many married people do kiss scenes on the screen, and their partners don't mind. Mama doesn't do that. Ruby announced, remembering the annoying situation back in America where I refused to do a kiss scene. Wait, right, she's not married. Wait, your mom's an actress, Ruby. Kana blinked and asked, as the other 3 women paused. She quickly cleared her throat. Why, you don't have to tell me if you want to keep it a secret. And hello, Miss Miyako, I am a big fan. Oh. Miyako smiled. A big fan of a manager. Adorable. Anyhow, you guys enjoy the show. On the note of the kissing, in the last season of this drama, a couple kissed and even dated for a few months. Do with that information what you will. Saying so, she walked out of the room as the 3 girls sat baffled, quickly turning to the screen with mixed gazes. After spending a few more minutes with Mem Cho, I decided to see the others too. After living so many lives, I didn't have an exact type. Shorties worked, tall mommies too, and my preferred personality in a girl depends on the day. So really, I wanted to check out everyone first before I'd make a decision. Don't forget to DM me, I'd be hurt if you took my number and socials just to never contact me. Mem Cho winked and sent me a flying kiss as I smiled and walked away. I walked towards a tree a bit far from here. The closest girl from this spot was sitting under that tree. It was Yuki Sumi. I noticed she had tried to come to me earlier, but walked back when she saw me and Mem Cho talking. Hey, Sumi-chan, right? I walked over to her and said. I wasn't going to start this conversation with the slight demonic aura around her. Calling her out on her deals with the devils didn't feel like the right way to have her positive attention. My friendly greeting caused her to open her eyes. She was listening to songs with headphones just now. She quickly got up, seemingly flustered, though half of it looked fake. She cleared her throat and waved her hand, a small blush on her face. Sorry, I was trying to calm my nerves. Gosh, aren't you nervous? You look pretty calm, Aquamarine-kun. Just Aqua is fine. Wanna head for a walk as we talk? I asked and she nodded, as she clumsily put her earphones into her handbag. She followed me as I walked. Walking helps your nerves, better than music for sure. I was slightly nervous around Mem Cho. She is famous and she is older than me, but it feels relaxing around you since we're the same age. I see. She showed a smile, and her nervousness, which was only half real, began to fade slowly. I wouldn't even know we're the same age if the producer didn't say, to be honest. You're so tall and big, not the type of guy that gets popular in our country, but then you have the face of a prince. I am saying too much. Again, her compliments felt real yet a bit fake at the same time. She was merging her acting with her honest opinions well. She is talented for this sort of reality show. But I didn't like her as much as Mem Cho. This girl looked cute and she was naturally clumsy and adorable, but at the same time, she was aware of that fact and continued to act clumsy. So it wasn't entirely fake, but it felt fake. I don't know, I mean Mem Cho herself was acting cute, out of her age, but she didn't feel that way. Is this my prejudice against those who sell their souls speaking again? Anyway, I don't like her as much. I guess I should go see someone else now. I would have right now, but we were busy with a conversation. You know, a couple in the last season kissed in the last episode, Yuki said. We were now on a first-name basis. How bold, don't you think? The idea of kissing is so shocking to me, but to do that in front of a camera. You've never been in a relationship before? I asked with a raised eyebrow. No. Do I seem like that sort of girl? Wow, Aqua, is that the impression you have of me? She leaned over with a giggle. If anyone who's been in a relationship before, you seem to be the one. How many hearts have you broken? Broken hearts, huh? Well, only a broken man can break others. I have so many guilty memories regarding this. Have you ever been in love, Aqua? Her next question reverberated in my head and I stopped walking. Yuki blinked as my smile vanished and I stared at the empty air. Memories flooded in. For a being as old as myself, I have fallen in love a lot of times. However, I think the saying that your heart can only love once is somewhat true. I had a few girlfriends in my first life, but I wasn't particularly attached to any of them. In my second life, I had a harem, and I did love them. I loved them a lot. In my third life, as Genghis Khan, I had 1,000 women whom I slept with. However, there was zero feeling involved. After my second life, it just didn't feel right. That was the turn where I had begun to go a little bit crazy. Therefore, in my fourth life, when I was forced to walk the path of a hermit due to the situation back then, I didn't resist. I thought it was better to learn to control myself, and this lifestyle would teach me exactly that. Yet, ironically, in my fourth life, I, the wandering beggar, had fallen in love the deepest until then. In that lifetime, where women and wine were taboo, I fell for a woman more than ever. The fact that I couldn't be with her, that it was taboo, was probably what made our chemistry affect me that much. It was a love beyond all my previous ones. That woman whom I fell for in my fourth life, for whom I gave up my life, was someone whom I still dreamt of every now and then. I said I have a soft spot for people who are crippled by birth, right? She is the one who bloomed that feeling. She was a cripple, a blind little girl whom I picked up after her parents died to the underlings of Chun Ma, the heavenly demon. In that life where I felt broken, she is what made me feel whole. She is what fixed me back then. Under my teaching, she learned to wield a sword, and despite being blind, a little girl, and learning from me, she soon wielded the sword better than I myself. That world was a low Murim world, the weak Cheether couldn't work to replace her eyes, and she couldn't even eat without my help, but she was so stubborn that she was regarded as the sword saint. When I talked about talented disciplines that Ruby could never compare to, she was one of them. She grew strong, driven by the fire of revenge. I was a hermit, a disciple of mine shouldn't have had such a dream, but I didn't mind. Because the things she did for me, despite not trusting any other person, were touching. Then, without telling me, she vanished one night to hunt down the heavenly demon. She killed Chun Ma and destroyed his demonic sect, but by the time I reached her, she was bleeding to death. There was no way for me to save that stupid girl, not unless I did something that'd make her hate me more than the dead heavenly demon. In my fourth life, after making a decision that I never regretted, I died in my own disciple's hands. After turning her dying body and soul into that of a devil, she killed me out of love, rage, and betrayal. It was a technique taught to me by my demon wife that made humans into immortal devils. She was dying, and that was the only way I could save her. It was selfish of me because she didn't want to live life as a demon, but selfish I could be if it could save her. As a hermit, I had abandoned all mortal pleasure. Women and alcohol were the main ones. It wasn't just mere self-restraint, the hermit cultivation path I followed in that world, it had the rule that the chi in me would have killed me if I stayed from the path of a hermit. In her newly revived body, she was strong enough to kill me with ease. But she didn't use her powers, her sword skills that I taught, to take my life. Instead, she tied me up and ravaged me. She broke the code of the hermit that she knew would kill me. She wanted it, I knew she did, and she knew I also wanted it. Our love had been made clear a long time ago, we just couldn't take the necessary action for many reasons. One was the relationship between a master and disciple. In that world it was a very serious thing, and romantic love between us wasn't respectful to Muram. We'd have been hunted down. My disciple did exactly that. She broke the taboo, both the Muram taboo and the taboo of a hermit. To kill me, she did what we've never been able to. My chi raged within me and took my life, while I stared at her angry and sad red eyes. Though, if that incident taught me anything, it's that I'd never let useless taboos placed by society stop me from doing what I wanted. My life was too complicated to care about the constructs of society if I really wanted something. I wonder how she is these days. She should be alive and young, even if it has indeed been thousands of years on my side. I was unsure if time flowed the same in all the worlds in the multiverse. Still, unless she was killed, she should still be out there, somewhere. Aqua. Yuki's voice broke me out of my daze, and turning to her, I found her in a daze herself, staring at me with slightly agape lips and a red face. A man's nostalgic expression can be attractive. I should have been careful. Good talking to you, Yuki. I told her, deciding to leave. I didn't bother to smile. I didn't feel like it. Plus, it'd be unwise to have her fall for me too much when I didn't even like her much. I didn't hate her though. She made me remember some interesting memories. I should go talk with the others too, for a bit. I hope this walk helped calm your nerves. Ah. She looked a little surprised and almost ran after me when I began to walk. Instead, she reached out her hand and made a bold announcement. If it's with you, I don't mind doing a kiss scene. The camera captured everything, and only after realizing that did Yuki's face go redder than a tomato as she crouched down and hid her face between her thighs. I wanted to talk to the other two girls too, but I didn't think there was much time. Plus, my feelings were a bit weird suddenly. I didn't want to talk to any other girl today. Still, there was a bit of time left that I spent getting to know the guys better. We'll be doing 8 episodes, and since it's 2 episodes every week, we'll be working together for a month. It was better to appear friendly with everyone instead of just a womanizer. Ha. What am I even doing here? 15 is the age I start taking life seriously. I need to decide what route I will be taking this time. Letting fate lead me isn't always a good thing. Nameless blind swordsman disciple picture in this paragraph. If you want to read the next 20+ chapters right away, visit my Patreon. Link. Patreon.com Master 4th Wall. 16. The Way of a Reincarnator. Chapter 16. The Way of a Reincarnator. Note. Nah, that's crazy. Number 1 in the ranking is wild. It's not even 60 hours in, and you guys did it. Thanks for the stones. Here is your chapter as promised. Trade done. New trade offer. You make us reach 700 stones, meaning 500 more than where we are right now, and you get another chapter. The offer lasts until tomorrow, the usual posting time at 0000 Eastern Standard Time. It shouldn't be hard since we are number 1 right now and lots of new readers will be swarming in. The shooting ended soon, and we were allowed to go our own ways. I noticed Yuki Sumi lingering around me a few times, but she never had the courage to come talk to me again that day. I didn't want to play along and left. I was in the mood for some air. The evening sky was darkening. This was my favorite time of the day, so I didn't call an Uber. At gold rank, my previous techniques were stronger, and I also had access to new techniques. I guess I could test them out now rather than later by running home with a movement skill. Until Jade, I only trained in the 3rd basic technique of Path of the Raging Sky. In gold, there are 3 minor ranks within it: low, high, and true, that all allow 4 techniques. 3 from wind, water, and lightning, and a new one from cloud, which was a mixture of wind and water, an advanced chi, so it was only available starting gold. As I was in true gold already, I could learn all 12 techniques anytime, 4 of which were movement techniques. While walking by the Sumida River, I paused and closed my eyes. While breathing the gentle air of the river, I concentrated and looked into my soul reflection. This technique showed a lot about me. I could even make a status page right out of a system novel if I wanted to, but that's just the status, which is kind of distracting, personally, since I have nothing to compare it with, so I only use this to recall memories instead. That's precisely what I was doing right now, recalling the memories of the movement techniques I wanted to learn. I brought them up in an imaginary hologram panel in my head. Though I must mention, they weren't the original 3 movement techniques that Path of the Raging Sky encouraged me to learn in gold rank. Instead, I chose the best ones from my vast knowledge that suited the 4 chi types I had. Nimbus Stride. With the use of Cloud Chi, this technique allows the user to step on the sky, air, and clouds, essentially walking and running on thin air as if it were solid ground. Body Flicker Technique. With the help of wind chi, this technique permits the user to move so fast that they appear as a blur, making it challenging for others to follow their movements. Reflecting pool. The user attunes their body with water chi, allowing them to meld with reflective surfaces like mirrors or still water. They can step into these surfaces, seemingly vanishing from one location and reappearing in another. Thunderstep. This technique involves striking the ground with a burst of lightning chi, creating shockwaves that propel the user into the air. They can chain multiple thundersteps together to perform mid-air maneuvers or reach elevated positions. All four were interesting choices, but I was in the mood for seeing the sky. It's not as if I was abandoning the other techniques. If I learn one technique this week, I can just choose another next week. So, I went for the Nimbus stride. I reopened my eyes, having chosen the technique. Upon choosing it, my memories of this technique became more clear, as if I had just read it, seen someone perform it, and also understood it. I took a step forward, but instead of stepping on the ground, I was stepping on thin air. I stepped with my other feet, and suddenly I stood a few inches above the ground. Then I kicked the air and made my way towards the high sky, and then to my home. It felt good. Under the wind from the east and the sun from the west, I felt calm for a moment. Sadly, it was not calming enough to help me sort out my mind. To my soon-to-be surprise, reaching home did help me sort everything out. Ding dong. The doorbell rang as I stood outside. The door opened not long after, and I stepped in, nodding to I who had opened the door, and took off my shoes. When I was placing my shoes on the shoe rack to the side, I heard I's worried voice fill my ears. Is anything wrong? She asked gently, her hand falling on my shoulder from behind. I saw your show today, your acting was great. I was questioning myself throughout the beginning if it was really my aqua. But then, in that scene, in the end, your face was so distant and sad. From her tone, while she couldn't tell if it was really me from my flirting, she was certain that it wasn't me at all when I made that face. What a blunder, I got lost in old memories nowhere but in front of a camera. It was just acting. I was trying to create a sort of mysterious vibe, I guess. It worked if even the legendary I mistook it for the real deal. I said with a smile, putting the shoes where they should be. Aquamarine, I held me by the shoulder and made me turn around. I looked at her face. I am your mother. You just called me by name. I noticed that a few times over the years, you do that whenever you're not acting like your usual self. That scene right there wasn't acting, if anyone would know, it's me. Just, what are you hiding, really? I just stared at her in silence. Observant. It would be unwise to be fooled by her usually goofy and airheaded personality. This was the woman who could copy act a person in under a few minutes. I could only act due to my experience, but talent-wise, this little girl here was ahead of me, and everyone in the world even. Image here. Looking at her like that also made me register how cute yet hot she looked today. Wearing a skirt that didn't reach her knees, and a covering frill dress on top that tightened around her breasts, showing her nipples since she rarely bothered with a bra at home. It was criminal how she managed to do that. This sort of mixture was impossible. For a moment, I almost replied something ominous. Why ask questions you won't like the answers to? But luckily I held back the urge. Instead, I smiled and walked away. Aqua. Listen, you. She rushed after me, following me into the kitchen where I poured myself water. She was about to say something but paused and watched me drink. That's adorable of her. When I finished, she apologized. Sorry, I didn't mean that to be an interrogation. I was just, she looked into my eyes. You know, you're my son, right? Nothing will ever change that. Even if you have some sort of secret. I just want you to be honest with me sometimes. I wondered for a moment what sort of interpretation she must have reached after seeing me wield lightning that day. Based on how she began to go to the shrines of three gods, Amaterasu the sun, Tsukuyomi the moon, and Susanoo the storm, I had a guess. Seeing me not answer her again, I gently grabbed me by the hands and pulled me to the couch. She grabbed my bag and threw it to the side, and yanked my head toward her lap as she sat down. Hey. Shush, just lay down like this. What is she doing? I stared up at her eyes, which were peeking from behind her chest, like the sun behind a mountain. Her hand moved and gently ran through my hair, as she stared down at me with a smile. Why are you doing this so suddenly? Shish, close your eyes. For a moment I almost wanted to get up and walk away, but I stopped my hormones from acting up and listened. I closed my eyes and just lay down. There was only silence that followed, other than the soft sound of her breathing, her blood moving within her, and her heart that beat calmly inside herself. I got lost in the sound as her left hand caressed my hair, and her right gently pinched my nose. What is this? I wondered as I felt myself smiling. What was she trying to do? Make me feel better. That's so cute of her. You know, when I was a kid, I began suddenly, and I was surprised to hear her telling me about the story of her mother. Both Ruby and I knew that we had or had a grandmother. We didn't know if she was even alive at this point, but not the details of how she was. Well, I knew, but that's from my manga knowledge. I didn't want us to know about that woman herself. Yet, today she was open to talking about it. It was brief, where she just explained that her mother wasn't the best, but it counted to make me feel closer to her. She was trying hard to make me feel relaxed near her, and that was just adorable. It wasn't even her fault. I am not the type to linger on past lives. Then, my mother abandoned me. She went to jail and was supposed to return to me after she was released. But she never came to look for me. She isn't the best mother, and I always feared becoming like her. At a tender age, I vowed to myself that if I ever had kids, I'll make them comfortable around me, like a friend, an older sibling, but at the same time, fulfill the role of a perfect mother too. She paused and hesitated. So when my kids act distant and hide things from me, I feel like I'm lacking. Am I lacking, Aqua? I opened my eyes, looking into her shaky purple pupils. If you want me to answer honestly, I don't think you're the ideal mother. I see. I gulped, smiling. I smiled back. But you're a great guardian. You said it yourself, you wanted to be like an older sibling, that's a guardian too. It's better than if you were the ideal mother because I like you the way you are. You're fun. That caused her expression to pause. It took a moment to sink in what she just heard before she smiled widely. Really? Really, I smiled, and then sighed. Though, I also have to remind you one thing. Trying to make your kids comfortable, you might have made me comfortable in a way that wasn't supposed to be. She looked confused as I got up. Instead of standing up, however, my hands grabbed her shoulder and pushed her down on the couch. Eyes went wide as I loomed over her, looking at her with a frown. Aqua, this is not a comfortable position for mom. It's for me. It isn't wise to make a young man my age so comfortable. I might get addicted to you, and build feelings for you that shouldn't be like your son. Let us be careful from now on. I really wanted to take her lips. This cute girl was trying too hard for me to feel just a bit better. I didn't see her as my mom, and even so, I have said I don't care about taboos. I decided not to care after the death in my fourth life. Sadly, while that's true, I have to understand I's feelings too. I got up from on top of her and began to walk away. Right when I was in front of the fridge, however, she called again. Hey Aqua. We need to talk about what you just did. That's not healthy. How annoying. I grabbed the handle of the fridge and took out a can of beer. It was for I herself, we kids don't drink, and I felt her shock as she saw the thing on my hand. I opened the cap even as she yelled at me to put it down, and drank the entire thing in one go. Then, I walked back to her. She had stood up as she paused at my approaching figure. What's going to happen next is not your fault, I'm just drunk, I said as I grabbed her by the waist and pulled her. She tried to say something, but that open mouth was what I needed as I pressed my lips on her. I froze. She didn't struggle. Despite what I said, she didn't want me to feel like I was assaulting her. She was too kind. I felt like a dick. Yet, I felt the kiss thoroughly. I felt her heart thump on my chest, and my hands felt her waist to their fullest. A minute later, I let her go. I looked into her eyes and she looked back, glaring even as her hands shook. My apologies, your ideal son will return tomorrow after the beer wears off, I told her and walked away, and this time she didn't call for me again. What a lovely young lady. I almost want to give in to the forbidden side. But nah, that will not be wise. 3 days soon passed since the first shoot. Today, they'd film the second episode, so I will go to the designated spot after school. It's been a quiet few days for me. I was avoiding me, as expected, though Ruby was being as loud as ever. Still, I have passed it entirely thinking about the way I should walk this life. Ultimately, I have decided on the route that's always been my top pick. The way of the reckless fool. It's a fancy name for doing whatever I want. Though for a person like me to do whatever I wanted, that meant I would have 1,000 enemies in no time. So I needed allies, and thankfully I already had multiple names in my head. It was finally time for my wonderful life to get packed with action. Master 4th Wall note. You can't spell incest without W. Oh wait. Anonymous trying to defend this chapter. If you want to read the next 20+ chapters right away, visit my Patreon. Link. Patreon.com Master 4th Wall. 48 comments 0 vote. 17 The Echoing Star. Chapter 17. The Echoing Star. Note, we reached the goal, unreal. Here is the promised extra chapter. Another chapter releases in 1 hour and 20 minutes. Enjoy. The first episode of the beginning of My Love with a Star, or Love My for short, was a bomb. It brought a lot of unnecessary popularity. Luckily I was used to such things across my life. Hey, look, it's him. So dreamy. Though, walking to school was now an annoyance. That scene where my face was lost in melancholy was a bit too attractive for these little girls. Ruby and Tsubasa didn't look very pleased, though the latter hid it well, as we walked together into the gate. Consider me surprised that you convinced Arima Kana to join you as an idol. I told Ruby, who scoffed, making me laugh. Tsubasa gave me a side-eye look, but when I looked back she looked away. Hey, are you two still mad? What is this? Stop being childish, and Ruby, you'd give people the wrong idea if you act like this. You are my sister, you know. Ruby flinched before she began a series of explanations about how it wasn't what I thought, that she wasn't mad because she saw me with another girl, as I had fun teasing her a bit more. I didn't do the same with Tsubasa. I knew about her feelings and I didn't want to mock them, even if I didn't exactly return them. When we passed the school gate and were a bit inside, the three of us were passing a bench. Just before we could walk past it, the girl sitting there stood up. I paused when I noticed who it was, and the others paused along. Image here. Rias Grimori stood before me, smiling so softly that most people would miss it. Her school dress was a bit different from others. While she wore a tie and a vest, her shirt was replaced with a white bodycon that reached her thighs, after which a pair of black tights took over. Walked over to me, right in front of the girls, and leaned over to whisper. Good acting yesterday. Made me blush, it was entertaining. Then, she walked away. I wanted to call her, but there were two other ladies beside me. I felt a little touched, just a bit, that she was waiting on the bench just to tell me that. I suppose it's about time I stopped ignoring her presence. Back then I was a kid, I was weak, and I couldn't deal with the consequences of interacting with a devil princess. But now it was different. Maybe I should note her in my list of potential girlfriend. See you later. I said in a not very loud voice, but she still turned around and gave me a smile, walking off. The two ladies beside me stopped to stare at Ria's back and then shot me a glare before they walked away without me. What is this? Here's the thing. I am not a good guy. I am also not a bad guy. I have done both bad and good, a demon and a saint. I am someone who has walked both paths and taken both the red and blue pills. Nobody will be able to put me on a chart of good and evil, but I am not neutral, I am the opposite of that. The one word I'd use to describe myself was crazy. Though admittedly, I have done no such crazy thing in this life. Until now, my actions have been pretty tame. However, I have chosen a path now. Sadly, it's the path of crazy people, not good, not bad, not neutral. This means I have to build myself a faction, though it'd be smaller than a usual faction, and packed with singular powerhouses instead of useless minions. This was the best choice for me since I didn't like being a part of groups, even if I were to be the leader of it. A small sect was the best. With a few hyper-powerful underlings, I can live my life the way I want, while taking on anybody, gods or devils alike, who might be dissatisfied with my ways and come to deal with me. As I lived a similar life in my 9th life, I knew from experience that there were a lot of people like that. For example, I'm planning to let the world know about magic and divinity. It relates to a grand plan of mine, but that's for later. Many won't like that, and I'll be hunted down for it. It's a goal for the near future. But when that time comes, many strong people will come for me. I didn't mind dealing with them, but as the honored one, I can't be seen taking on any and every small fry that comes my way. First of all, Ruby needs to grow faster. I am going to harshen her training. As my sister and disciple, she's obviously going to work for me, even if she didn't want to. Beyond that, I'll also need to grow stronger myself and gather some other subordinates. That brings us to the current situation. Image here. The pink-haired girl, Shoko Nishiyama, was sitting on a park bench not far from our school. I was crouching down in front of her creamy legs, staring up with a complicated gaze. Is there anything wrong? Shoko wore a worried frown as she asked me. It was an understandable question since I was staring at her for minutes now as if I was planning to devour her. After that day, kissing I and refreshing my belief that I didn't care about taboos and will do whatever I wanted, I came to school with the intention to heal Shoko's illness. It was the day when I met Rias. Now 3 days have passed since. Then, I discovered a problem. She didn't have an illness. It may sound weird, but her body was healthy. It didn't make sense, but now, after I did a bit of research for the past 3 days, it made sense now. You're incredible, I told her out loud. I didn't use sign language for this. Yet, I knew she heard me. She was about to weave signs saying that she couldn't understand but paused. She paused and stared at me, surprised at how she understood me just now. She's cute. I am glad she chose to attend this school of all, otherwise, she would have spent her life as a cripple. But not anymore, not when she met me. As for why she could understand me, it's because Shoko was more mana sensitive than usual. Because just now, I let out a mana-infused speech. Not that being deaf allowed people this, normal deaf people wouldn't have been able to hear what I just said. Plus, being born deaf, she shouldn't even understand Japanese, yet she understood the intent present in the mana. That level of mana sensitivity was rare for a girl who didn't even know magic existed. Aqua, what was that? Shoko shakily asked a question with her hands, but I didn't answer her. I just stared at her, deep into her. Inside her, connected to her soul, was an artifact. A soul-bound artifact. Meaning, based on this world's setting, it's a sacred gear. Indeed, her deafness wasn't caused by natural causes. I scanned her 3 days ago and was puzzled to find nothing wrong with her body. That's when I sensed a sort of construct within her soul. To confirm my guess, as I didn't want to take any risk with her, I roamed around a bit and scanned this guy named Genshiro Saji, second year, whom I knew for a fact from the DxD anime had a sacred gear. Now, I have confirmed that the artifact inside Shoko was indeed a sacred gear. In the last few days, I've figured out a way to awaken it. The problem was, Shoko will surely freak out when all the sounds become alive for her. Plus, she would know about my magical identity. If her deafness was normal, then I'd have just given her medicine in secret and fixed her, but this was complicated. Not in a bad way, though. Her power was very strong. The reverse soul reflection technique allowed me to see what the power was. It was honestly crazy, as it was a sound variation of word magic. Name: Echoes 1. Type: Sacred Gear. Rank: New Longinus. Description: This power resides in the user's voice, causing her words to come to reality. If she says, tornado, a text spelling that word would appear in the air, and a tornado will be created from there. The next stage of the power allows more things. Originally a normal ranked gear, but due to the imbalance in the system after the god of the Bible's death, this has been absorbing all the sound in the user's stead to gather power for itself for many generations, causing it to upgrade into a new Longinus. But due to absorbing all the sound for the user, the gear has been effectively turning all of its users deaf. That hasn't stopped yet, even after upgrading. If it were to receive a push, like slapping a remote to work, this might begin to work as intended. If somehow awakened, all the sound absorbed over the generations will grant the user forbidden knowledge and the ability to talk multiple languages. See, that's a strong power. It even had stages. I could already imagine how dangerous it would be in the latter stages. If I train her on it, she might become a strong subordinate. Not that I was doing this with that in mind, I just wanted her to be able to hear. That's all. Shoko, I once again spoke out loud, as my mana-imbued words were absorbed by her gear, she heard them. I watched her eyes shake. I know this is trippy, but this isn't a dream. I have already sent a message to your sister earlier, she will be here to pick you up soon. You'll need it after what I'd do to you. Classes ended a bit earlier today, so that little girl wasn't here yet. But I used Shoko's phone earlier to let her know about it, so she'll be here at the park soon. That was a reliable little sister right there, I was proud of her. Now, I had to play my part. If it was, like slapping a remote to work, as it said, I knew the best way. I am a magician, kind of. This won't hurt, but you're going to be surprised. Try to stay strong. I told her, and before she could form a question, I gently pressed 2 of my fingers on her forehead. Sorcerer spell, transcending mind from the metaphysical consciousness. It was the same technique I used on Ruby in the past, and if it was to give the soul a little shake, this was more than enough. Immediately as I cast it, I watched Shoko's eyes turn milky white, as her vocals let out a groan. A real groan. A moment later, her body jolted back into place, and she looked at me while huffing. Wah. For a moment, she let out an exclamation in English. Shoko talked. Mueos. Then it was Korean. She stopped trying and looked at me in exasperation, her voice broke next and she threw herself at me, her hands dropping the sandwich and hugging me. Ha ha. Oh, and that was the universal language of cry. Shoko could cry now, sounding like the proper human that she was. 10 minutes passed, and some people came to check on her a few times. However, I just waved them off. Since Shoko was crying while hugging me, they decided to trust me. I let her cry. It felt good being there for her when she felt this level of intense emotion. I knew she didn't understand what was going on, she didn't believe it, her mind must be blank. Yet, I continued parting her back and head as I leaned against a tree and had her sit on my lap and cry on my shoulder. Obviously, I wasn't going to try and recruit her now. I'll let her rest and get used to this. When Shoko's little sister finally came to the school, little Miss Yuzuru Nishiyama began to throw hands at me. Why you? What did you do to her? You said I can trust you. Bastard. Die. Her punches didn't hurt, so I didn't dodge them. I think Miss Yuzuru Nishiyama needs to learn how to comprehend a situation. If I did anything bad to Shoko, she wouldn't be crying while hugging me. Shoko spoke. It was broken, but it was Japanese. Yuzuru stopped. It took her a moment as she turned to look at Shoko, who pulled herself up from my arms. And hurt him. She added. With an expression morphed into stupid, I seemed to have overestimated the little girl as she lost consciousness and fell. The little girl woke up not long after, and Shoko used that time to silently lay her head on my chest. I didn't mind it, my gold sign helped her relax and calm down. Still, I had a bad feeling about this. I didn't want her to get obsessed with me just because of this. Luckily, Yuzuru Nishiyama woke up not long after and cried while hugging Shoko. Then, she pulled her older sister away to go home and announce this to their parents. Shoko cried for me, reaching out a hand to hold me, asking me to go along with her, but I had other things to do. Just message me. I waved my hand and yelled to her who was already far from me. When she was gone, I stood up and dusted off my shirt. Oh shit, the lipstick mark will be troublesome since I have to film in a while. I gathered water chi and splashed a bit of water into the spot, and then dried it with wind chi. It didn't help. Then I used cloud chi on it and dried it with wind chi. Luckily, it helped this time. Then, I decided to launch myself in the air, using cloud chi to step on the air, and wind chi to blink from one spot to forward. It was late, taking Uber will not do, so I had to go to the filming range like this. Starting from the third episode, we'll film in the morning. How annoying. Oh, and the filming range was different this time around. It was an indoor place, a game center. It would be boring if we went to a park for all the episodes. I didn't immediately reach the clouds when I took off, which allowed me to notice a peculiar couple walking the park. Oh. I recognized the guy as I have seen him in school before. Issei Hyudo, second year. However, he wasn't alone, he was with a girl, a black-haired girl seemingly the same age as him. However, that wasn't a human girl. That aura. I hid myself behind a cloud aura. It would be strange to see clouds so low in the sky, but less strange than seeing a man flying. I observed the girl a bit closer. A sort of negative aura, that had signs of being originally positive. Huh. Right, that's Rainair. I suppose that must be the aura of a fallen angel, then. If Issei was out with her as a date today, it meant this was the start of DxD's canon. It's neat I got to witness it right now, though I have no plans to intervene right now. I turned around and continued blinking at my destination. I wish Issei Hyudo a good time. That fate stayed kind to him so he mustn't die due to some butterfly effect. 1. Inspired by JoJo, though it won't be a stand. 32 comments 0 vote. 18. The liars lie together. Chapter 18. The liars lie together. Aqua. I somehow managed to reach the filming range in time. The game center was filled with fewer people than usual. It looked like the production team rented the place, which must have cost a lot. The men behind the screen gave me disapproving looks, shaking their heads due to me being late, while the actors welcomed me with open arms. Mem Cho ran and high-fived me, and I returned it easily. We have kept in contact for the last week, and the memes and reels we shared with one another brought back some good old memories from my first life when I too was an internet person. She has good taste in memes, and she was even bold enough to send a minor like me a few dirty memes too. Good to see you again, Mem. Same. Then, I greeted the others. I was careful to not spend any extra words for Yuki Sumi, trying to slowly sign that I wasn't interested. I had to make sure that was clear, both in person and in front of the camera. Soon, the shoot began. There were no rules as to what we could do, so we began to roam the entire place. I was with Mem Cho, I allowed her to take me anywhere she deemed good. After a few minutes of playing both new and old games in the arcade, Mem began to gossip. Look, the last episode caused such a scene amongst the audience. She said when we stopped for cold drinks near a vending machine as she showed me her phone. It was the comment section of our episode on Twitter. Why Twitter? Oh, and did Elon Musk change the name back to Twitter from X? Or did that never happen in this timeline? Commented by Gwenstatius Feetlicker. This is incredible. The girls are so fucking cute. Memcho is adorable as usual, but Yuki-chan is also cute. I am curious to see the other two girls, especially my Sama on the screen more. Though the boys aren't that good emo. Replied by Brutal You Unite. Case on point with the girls. But I think the guys did a good job too. That aquamarine guy, in particular, stole the show. He's just so handsome. And I am a straight guy. Replied by Jason34. WTF, what's wrong with you guys' names? Replied by yours Masaki. I think you're just jealous when you talk about the guys. With a name like that, I won't be surprised if you feel insecure. Guys only come to see the girls, don't they? So gross, get a life. Replied by Fallen Shrine Maiden. Yours Masaki agreed, guys are always so mad and perverted. SMH, but they melt like cotton whenever a real girl approaches them a bit suggestively. Anyway, forget about this topic. I ship Aqua and Memcho, they have a good chemistry, but he also had a more interesting interaction with Yuki. The way she confessed out loud. I wish the camera caught their conversation from the get-go. After that little fight was postponed, all the replies below, and the other comments too, talked about shipping. As it was the first episode, not all characters were developed well. It was Aqua and the two girls whom he interacted with that were receiving the limelight. I laughed at the entire text wall. What the heck is this? The internet hasn't changed a bit since the last time I saw it. I couldn't help but find the stupid comments section nostalgic. In my first life, I died in the year 2020s. It's 2033 in this world, yet the internet is ever the same. Why do you sound old? Huh. I looked at Memcho. Oh, haven't I told you yet? I am immortal. But don't tell anyone. Memcho was about to laugh before she stopped and looked at me in shock. There were no cameras around, so she asked in a loud voice. Wait, for real? That was supposed to be an inside joke for me. However, I forgot she knew I was a supernatural being, and as she didn't know exactly what I was, she was open to ideas. No, I'm joking. I shook my head, watching her face deflate. You, on the other hand, should be pretty much immortal though. Devils live for tens of thousands of years, as a half-devil you should be close. Oh, she suddenly stopped. That was a piece of information she didn't know, and now she suddenly felt free. Are you serious? I was always scared that I'd turn 30 and lose my charm. Yeah. I mean, isn't it obvious? You are running around telling people you're a high schooler, and they don't question you since you do look so young. You will continue to look this young for a long time. Memcho grinned. Hey, grab some more drinks, it's my treat. Sure. I went to retrieve some more cans as I spoke. Though try not to get attached to mortals too much. It'll hurt a lot when they all leave but you remain. Memcho paused. Her happy smile from a moment ago vanished. I don't want that. Haha, I laughed dryly. It was funny. For the next half an hour, Memcho was silent. Today's shooting was longer because it wasn't a live broadcast. They'll just pick the best of the shoot and show it later, in a few hours. So I didn't mind spending a bit more time with the devil. The two of us were playing the legendary Cadillacs and dinosaurs in an arcade when she spoke for the first time. Do you know why I fake myself to be a high schooler? It's because Japan is harsh to women beyond 20. She said, focused on the game. Well, unless you're a megastar like I. I dropped out of third year high school to take care of my family, my mother, and my two younger brothers. I wanted my two brothers to attend college. So I needed to earn money for them because we didn't have a father to rely on. From the age of 18 to the age of 23, I worked hard for 5 years. I finally earned enough money to send them to college. It was such a reliving moment. She continued, 3 years ago, I started my YouTube career. It started as a small lie that I'm a high schooler, but then, well, the lie grew and here we are. I don't really mind if I lose all my fame overnight. I mean, it will hurt, I worked hard for it, but it's not that big of a deal. However, if my loved ones die while I stay alive, that's not the kind of life I want to continue on. Your brothers aren't devils? I don't think so. When I asked, her reply was fast. They are not. Though they don't know that, they think the three of us have the same father. Not that it matters, we have the same mother, and since we never met our father, it's not an issue. So that means they will die. Along with my mom. While I continue living. It was slightly amusing seeing her cry over such a thing. Ha, what a joke. I stopped myself from laughing at it, because I knew comparing my problem with hers wasn't very mature. From her perspective, it was a very intense situation, and I could relate to that back when I was still young. I suppose this is where I bring her in. My words worked as intended, and her reaction was just as planned. I walked over to her and hugged her from behind. I suddenly noticed a camera in the distance, but sadly I couldn't cancel the hug now. While she froze, unsure what to do, I whispered to her ears. I have a sister and a mother, they too will die of old age. I lied. I won't let them die. But such lies were necessary right now. Humans are mortal, they are meant to die. However, we can change that. The easiest way is to turn them into devils, yes that's possible, or, we can create a heaven for ourselves. No, I don't mean it figuratively, I mean heaven in the sense where souls can rest after death. If we have a heaven of our own, we can keep the souls of our family and friends there. We can visit them anyway, we can even bring them out to the real world. It'd be like they are on a vacation, like they're retired after death. I leaned down, biting on her ears. Devils exist, you know that already. But did you know that gods exist too? Not only one but many. To make a heaven, one needs to be a god. Sadly, you're a devil, devils can't acquire divinity. However, I am a human, I can transcend into godhood with help from the likes of you. Mem Cho, we need each other. Her father is from the Agaras clan, is one of the families from the 72 pillars. One of the few who have a special ability in their blood. One of the stronger abilities, too. I knew when I used reverse soul reflection on her, the day I met her. Name, Power of Time. Type, Demonic Bloodline Ability. Description, the power of time derives from the Agaras clan of devils. It allows the user to control time to a certain extent. At its base, it allows the user to create a time barrier that can slow or increase the flow of time within it. The barrier can easily be expanded to a larger range, which can then prevent enemies from escaping its radius. A time ability. Without even knowing any spells, she could use it. I could already see how much stronger she would get if I taught her a few spells from my eternal sorcery. Mem Cho was a must-have. My left hand stayed around her abdomen, squeezing her waist, while my right grabbed her chin upwards, for her eyes to lock with mine. Mem, I called for her as her eyes shook. Become mine. She closed her eyes, and I leaned over to seal her lips. The camera caught everything but our words. This sort of kiss was pretty vulgar for TV, as her ass was pressing on my crotch, and her abdomen trembled against my hand, with her head upwards and mine down. But who gave a fuck? By the way, forgive me if you got the wrong idea, but this doesn't mean we are going to start dating, I told Mem Cho as I uncapped a can of soda and prepared to walk off. She was fixing her makeup as she gave me a wry smile. You are a bad boy, did I tell you? She meant why did I kiss her if we weren't going to date? We could have sealed the deal of our working together with something else. I just winked at her. You did, and you were right. You are very attractive, but I don't like having romantic relationships with my subordinates. That was a lie. I just didn't see her as a girlfriend material, she was more of a best friend kind of gal. The kiss was an indication that we can surely have skinship if you want, just not romantically. And I just really wanted to kiss you right then. You don't have to explain it so in depth. And I thought we were allies. How am I a subordinate now? She asked and I just smiled, walking away. She shouted, I'm starting to doubt when you said you aren't a stinky old man. I am sure that the production crew will not show the kissing until the very end of the episode. So I can walk around and talk to the other girls as I have been planning, it won't seem weird in the final cut. First I went to talk to my Sakurajima, as any fan of the bunny girl senpai would do. Well, I was a fan in the past, these days my emotions couldn't mold itself to fanboy over anyone. I found the bunny in the bowling ball area. Luckily, my next target, Akane Kurikawa was there too, though she was with that guy called Sen Kaibara, the new cast who didn't exist in the canon timeline. Mai and Akane had taken the furthest ball range from one another. I didn't think it was Akane who did it, she was busy talking with Sen, while Mai silently rolled balls. There were cameras in the vicinity, but they too were focused on Akane and Sen, practically ignoring Mai. Akane had the lowest screen time in the canon, I recall. But this girl somehow managed even lower attention from the camera. I don't think the weird power system from the bunny girl anime works here, so it must be related to her yokai race. Good morning, I walked over to her and said, watching her pause as she was just about to throw a ball. She blinked at me for a moment, as if surprised how I was there to talk to her before she noticed the aura around me. She just nodded. It's evening. Alright, my bad. I apologized. The aura around you makes everything a bit hazy, so I mistook it. Are you doing this on purpose? I have no idea what you're talking about, she said and rolled the ball that went to the side and missed the entire game. Damn, she's trash. The camera is avoiding you. The normal people don't even want to come and talk to you. Your existence has faded slightly. It's odd. I told her, watching her turn to me fully and stare at me. What? I am curious about what's wrong with you, and if you need help I might just help you out. I don't need help, she said and turned away. She was a pretty cold person. I like my peace, and hate it when someone interrupts it. Go hit on someone else. Pretty crazy that someone so peace-loving is here at a dating show. Wanna play a small bet? The one who scores the most buys the other person a drink. No. She said and rolled another ball, this one hit straight on all the pins. Damn, was that a threat? How heartless of you. I smiled. A camera caught our little exchange. My presence made the crew turn their cameras at us, it seems. So I guess her aura can be suppressed even without me trying to. I didn't see any reason to pursue her too much today. I would love to have a bunny yokai in my still unnamed sect, but it can wait a while. I left her be and approached Akane. Sen was just leaving and we confronted each other on the way, exchanging a few friendly words as I approached the girl next. Hey, Kurakawa-san. Got a minute? I said as she turned to me, smiling. Aqua-kun. What's with using my family name, when you call everyone else by their first name? She said naturally. We talked a bit before the shooting began, but it was just a greeting. I took out 2 mango jelly bars from my pocket and handed one over to her. She was a bit surprised as she accepted it. You don't want me to? Sure thing. Yes, thanks. I saw you talk with my senpai, is she alright? I've known her for a long time since we're both actresses, but, recently she feels off. My goal was to make her feel natural, uncaring that cameras were around. While she was a god in theaters, a reality drama environment was just not for her, so I had to take the lead. It's good that we had a mutual topic about so I began to talk to her about it. Soon, we were laughing and bowling balls. She was doing great while I was trying to hit, failing. It was a bit annoying since I wasn't used to this and didn't want to use my powers while playing against her. She giggled. How can you be this bad? Come, give me your hand. She walked to my side and grabbed my forearm as I took the ball, then she gently led my arm forward and I released the ball.